thank you for coming. Like a huge welcome to all of you. I'm very excited to be here. This is like my first time at our Shopify space, and many of us, actually my team at the Shopify space. So just like really excited to be here. So thank you all for coming. And this is the first portion of our developer meetup. So we'll actually do a pretty technical uh, workshop teaching you how to build a Shopify app. And then after this, please stay. We'll actually have a panel uh, with me and a few of the members of our community. And then we'll actually also have happy hours at the end to like mingle and just for you to kind of chit chat and meet many of the shopper folks. So without further ado, let me introduce you. So I have Steve and Nevin here with me today, and they'll take you through a workshop. So a round of applause for Steve and Nevin.
Hey, everyone.
Thanks, Josh. I wanted to do something really quick before we go into the presentation. That is to say thank you to both Max and Irene and all the other folks who helped get this thing organized and pull it off. So thank you, Max. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Josh. Nevin and I didn't have to do, it was very easy for us. Yeah. All right. So, it's been a while since we've done an in-person presentation. So, be gentle, be nice. Let's see. All right. Today we're going to do an introduction to building with Shopify. We're going to do a little bit of a quick presentation, like 20, 30 minutes. And then we're going to do an actual workshop afterward. We're going to do hands-on keyboard kind of activity. All right. So before we start, hi, I'm Steve. I've been at Shopify a whopping 4 months. I'm a developer advocate based out of Toronto. You can find me on Twitter as SteveBot. And Nevin.
I'm Nevin. I've been at Shopify a little bit longer, but it feels like yesterday. I've been here about 2 years now. Also in Toronto, and you can hit me up on Twitter at ntan83.
And we've been in New York for a few days now, and we actually had to do a little like a quick 3-minute passion talk in front of the whole team. And Nevin, you gave a passion talk about ramen.
I do have a passion for ramen. What can I say?
Yeah,
I'm sure not the only one. And Steve here, very interestingly enough, maybe a little stereotypically, he likes to mod retro games and retro consoles and stuff, and he just modded an old Game Boy. He stuck in a backlit LED screen onto his old Game Boy Color, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I love my Tetris.
Yeah.
All right. So if there's 4 things that you take away from this presentation, we want you to be able to answer these questions. Number 1, what is Shopify? Number 2, why you should build on Shopify. Number 3, what can you build on Shopify? And the last one, what is a Shopify app? All right, so we'll circle back to these questions at the end of the presentation. We'll answer them. All right, so first off, what is Shopify? Now, the official answer is Shopify is an entrepreneurship company that helps merchants sell to their customers from anywhere to anywhere. So by the numbers, and you can see here, someone on one of our online stores buying a ornamental gourd on a Black Friday sale. We have, I believe that the correct term is millions of merchants now. I think it's just over 1.7. And the GMV that is kind of processed through Shopify stores is 175 billion. That was the total for 2021.
Steve, what does GMV mean?
I believe it's gross merchandise value.
That's right. So it's just all the stuff that flows through all of our different merchants. Last year, it came up to $175 billion.
And Nevin, what about the Black Friday? Anything specific you want to shout out there?
Well, Black Friday is obviously the busiest time of the year for us. That's easily where we find the most traffic going through all of our merchant sites. So it's always a big deal for us. From our side, when we're looking at the platform, we always want to make sure that everything's stable, all of our apps and our merchants are well taken care of. So is always a big time of focus for us.
Yeah, if you check out the engineering blog, there's actually a really cool write-up about how they handle load on the network and data side for on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. All right, in addition to the online store, we also have a bunch of retail appliances that you can purchase. So things that like card readers and I think like even cash registers, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And additionally, there's the back office aspect. So in case you need to, track your inventory, help you out with shipping a little bit, through the admin side of the store, you can do a whole lot of back office functionality. And now things kind of get a little tricky. So Shopify operates in 175 different countries and 21 different languages. Gets a little complicated. Some countries really like using credit cards. Some countries really like cash on delivery. It's varying. We've noticed that over the years, it just varies widely from country to country, merchant to merchant. If it's a small merchant, large merchant, it's a little different. And how do we handle all that? Well, we can't. It's a little naive to think that we can solve every customer's problem, every merchant's problem for every single use case. And that's where our third-party apps come in. We have an API, an open API that can bridge the gap between what is common and what is possible. Because if we tried to do everything, our product would end up looking very bloated, very hard to use. So that's where we kind of leverage the third-party apps, and that's where the ecosystem comes in. That's why we need you to build the next app, or the next theme, or the next storefront, which Nevin's going to get into.
So you might be asking yourself, what is this all about? How do I build on Shopify? Why would I? Out of the box, our merchants only get so much. We, as a company, as Steve was saying, it wouldn't make sense for us to build everything for everyone's needs. It would just be untenable. We wouldn't survive as a company. Our products would be diluted. No one would get what they truly wanted. So just to throw some numbers out at you, right now in our ecosystem, we have about 8,000 apps. There are about 6 apps installed per merchant. Obviously, that will vary depending on the size of the merchant, the need of the merchant, what they're selling, who they're selling to. And last year alone, we paid out $411 million in revenue to our partners. And that number is growing every year. I think the previous year was something like $250 million. So year by year, you can see quite a bit of growth on our platform.
And also, it should be noted that the first million of your app or your theme, it's, Shopify doesn't take a cut. It goes completely to the developer, right?
That's right.
And really quickly, do you want to give an example of an app? Like, why would someone use an app?
Yeah, so one of the apps that you might be able to build is post-purchase upsell. Well, what does that really mean? Say a customer has gone to an online store, you've made a purchase, you might have an app that just says, you've bought some coffee beans, maybe you want a grinder with that. And you can build an app that allows kind of the seamless transition of adding that coffee grinder to the order that was just placed. So that's something we don't offer out of the box, but you as a partner might be able to build an app for a merchant to handle that case.
Yep, well said. So Nevin, why else should people build on Shopify aside from the awesome financial?
It's a growing ecosystem. Everyone knows during the pandemic, more and more merchants have been moving online through different platforms. And so there's lots of opportunity now to kind of give merchants new functionality and new ways to sell their products. I was saying before, and this is going to be kind of a common theme, we at Shopify can only do so much. And so we provide what's common to all of our merchants, but definitely not everything that's possible. And so there's lots of opportunity. It's a growing ecosystem. We try to give you transparency in terms of all of our new releases and what's possible, whether new things that are coming. And so that's just another reason why some other companies don't want to name them. They might be a little bit more opaque in terms of what they're doing, but we try to be pretty transparent. And lastly, we have a pretty active community. You'll see all these kind of meetups, hopefully all over the world. We're very active online. You can check out our Twitter account at Shopify Devs. We're constantly putting up new content on YouTube. We have our own Discord server. We have a partner Slack server, and we have our community forum. So there's all kinds of ways to reach out, not only to us as Shopify developers internally, but the Shopify community as a whole supporting each other.
Yeah, I'll just chime in and say that like I've been in the DevRel game for about 5 years, and the community that Shopify has grown and the ecosystem there is just phenomenal. Like I'm in the partner Slack, I'm in the Discord, and it is just nonstop chatter. It is so nice to see so many people actively participating in that, and going to Twitter to tell us about how they're going to build an app in 48 hours, or asking how can I get started doing this or doing that, and people are helping out at the same time on Slack and on Discord. It's just really nice to see.
So what can I build on Shopify? There are three main ways. The first are apps. Apps you can think about as extending the functionality that we provide out of the box. So I already gave an example, but we'll get into how the apps actually work within our platform in a little bit. I'll expand on each one of these topics as we go on. Next one are the themes. Themes are a way for our merchants to kind of customize and stylize their stores so it better fits their branding, their needs. You'll see that certain stores within a certain demographic, maybe it's art, they'll have a certain set of themes that works well for them. And then maybe food-related stores will have a different set of themes that work well for them. So again, we'll get into that a little bit. And the last one is custom storefronts. Custom storefronts is really exciting where we like to focus on what we call headless commerce. You may have heard the term before, and all that is a split between the front end and the back end. Some of our merchants are highly specialized. They have their own strong branding. And so they want us to handle and manage their back end, their orders, their customers, that kind of thing. And they have a fully customized front end for selling their goods and services. Yeah. What is a Shopify app? So an app is quite simple. You as a developer, you build the app, you submit the app to our Shopify app store. The merchant can search for it. Maybe they're looking for, like I said, an upsell app or maybe a subscription app, fulfillment app, whatever it is. They choose the app, they install it onto their store. And then the customer, when they interact with the store, they get all the benefits of that app. So it could be, like I said, an upsell, or maybe it's, I want, a subscription of my coffee beans. Going back to that previous example, give me a delivery every 3 weeks or whatever it is. Some of the SDKs that we encourage you to use are Node.js, Ruby, Python, PHP, and some key open source software is GraphQL and React. I do want to point out that you're not limited to these technologies, but these are some of the examples that we like to show.
Yeah, I think I saw an example of a Go SDK. I think there's an unofficial one. So basically, you just need anything that can make a REST call or a GraphQL call.
Exactly.
And I just want to chime in and say that for the folks in person, we have like a little small army of Shopify developers, Shopify developer advocates here. So if you have any questions, find folks in little Shopify shirts and they'll be able to answer there. And if you are online, please leave questions in the chat and we're moderating that right now. So yeah, back to you, Nevin.
So as I mentioned before, we have an app store. Here are some of the examples of what you might be able to build. It could be store design, marketing, shipping and delivery. The list goes on and on. Some examples. ShipStation is one of our bigger apps. They provide merchants the ability to connect with local shipping options. I think in the US and Canada, we know all the big ones, but all around the world, obviously, there are different services. So ShipStation is one of those examples. Transy is an example of an app where it provides translation and multi-currency services. So again, now with the world the way it is, everyone's looking to expand their market, and one way is just to have multi-language services. Last example is checkout promotions, and that is a way for our merchants to use email and SMS to automate some of their services. All right. Moving on, what is a Shopify theme? Steve, why don't you take this one?
All right. So a Shopify theme, as Nevin mentioned earlier, is a way for you to customize the look and feel of your store. Maybe you kind of want the the featured products at the very top and maybe at the very bottom. And then maybe on the product page, maybe you want the share button all the way at the top versus at the bottom. Maybe you want product reviews at the top or at the bottom. And all of this is kind of governed by a single layout file, which is written in Liquid, which is if you've used a tool like, I believe some similar tools are like Jinja templates with Python, where you're basically creating a template and then you're substituting values, when you load the page. And we have some, I believe, CP who is on our team. He made a VS Code extension that added liquid checking now. So if you're making a new theme, that's something now VS Code can actually check, making sure that it's all in the right syntax. And with themes, we of course have a theme store, same as the App Store. And here you can filter by, and like Nevin alluded to earlier, themes are basically heavily governed by what vertical you're in. So if you see here, there's specific categories for art and entertainment, food and drink, pet supplies. All of these are kind of going to have a bit of a different look and feel. So, if you're doing a food and drink theme, maybe you're going to go to the one at the bottom there with the Malbec. If you're trying to sell a new electronic device, you kind of want like an Apple-esque theme, and you're going to go up at the top. If you're having something more kids and games related, maybe you want a little bit more of a fun theme. Shopify by default ships with, I believe, 6 free themes. And right now there's, I think, 70 themes on the theme store. And if you have any
Growing by the day, yeah.
If you have any questions about themes and you're in person, go find Jason. He's over there. He's the themes guy. All right, Nevin, what's a custom storefront?
Custom storefront is something I find really exciting. It's really cool. Technology has grown in such a huge way. Obviously, we used to be primarily brick and mortar. The web came along. We're now selling online. But more and more now, we have opportunities for merchants to sell through new ways. So it could be you're on some VR server and you want to sell directly to a customer instead of them having to launch a browser, navigate to your site. Maybe you want a way for customers to buy directly through that platform. This is what Custom Storefronts is all about, kind of unlocking those other possibilities. We don't provide this out of the box, again, because it's not common, but it's definitely possible. So you can see some of the SDKs that you can build with. Again, Node, PHP, Android, iOS, and Unity. So these are just examples. And our key open source software, again, GraphQL and Hydrogen is a new technology, open source technology from Shopify that allows custom storefronts to be built as well.
Yeah, I just find this topic really interesting, because with an online store, it's very much, you're doing it either like on a computer or maybe on a phone and, through a browser. But, what if you're in, like on your watch? You're not going to go to a website on your watch or something like that. But you still would be pretty cool to be able to purchase something like that. Or maybe you're in a game and there's a specific item that you want in the game. The game's written in Unity. That would be also really cool if you could do that from within the game. Especially in like VR scenarios or something like that. I just think it's really cool to be able to kind of unlock this new set of buying experiences with these custom storefronts. Actually, there's a really cool tutorial I just watched last night from the folks at Tailwind. They build a custom storefront, and you can see with Tailwind and Next.js and just basically Shopify GraphQL calls. It's really cool. All right. So what resources are available today for developers to kind of get jump started with? So we've got new workshops, and they're based off something called Code Labs. We're going to go and run through one right after the presentation. And you can find them at shopify.github.io/workshops. And we've got an upcoming themes workshop with Liam Griffin, who's not here today, but he's hosting a virtual one. It's on April 13th. And then if you're interested in joining the Themes Accelerator program, go talk to Jason in person right there. He can explain what the Themes Accelerator program is. Given the name, it's how to get your theme built relatively quickly and work with someone and work with a tight team of people to kind of get to that review process so that it can get to the store. And check out our online resources. The developer docs, if you haven't seen them in a while, they've been completely revamped. And if you haven't seen the YouTube channel in a while, you're missing out because Liz does awesome videos, and she's over there in the back too. There's just so much goodness going on. And let's go back to those questions that we posed in the beginning of the presentation, Nevin. So what's Shopify, Nevin?
Shopify is a service that allows merchants to sell from wherever to wherever.
You forgot entrepreneurial company.
Oh,
-1. All right, why build on Shopify?
lots of opportunity, lots of cool community. It's just an exciting place to be.
All right, what can you build on Shopify? Remember, it's 3 things: apps, themes, custom storefronts. And what's a Shopify app?
It extends the functionality that we provide out of the box.
That's an excellent question. Bonus marks for you today. All right. That's the gist of the presentation. I believe we're going to jump right into the workshop right now, right?
Unless there are any maybe big questions out there from the audience or maybe online that we want to answer based on what we just talked about. All right, we'll go into the workshop.
All right.
So if you want to follow along, the link is shopify.github.io/workshops. We'll be going through how to spin up a product review app.
I got to get demo ready.
All right, I'll roll up the sleeves. All right.
All right. And we're going to be testing this out. There's no stand here, so hopefully this works and the mic stays upright.
Hopefully by now, if you're following along as well, you will have already done the setup step where you've created a partner account and installed the CLI. If you haven't, feel free to do that now. It's one of the options right there in the middle. Set up your Shopify account, CLI, and store.
All right. So, we sent out this link earlier, and hopefully folks went through and did the setup Shopify account, CLI, and store code lab. If you didn't do that and you still want to, I would recommend just kind of watching the screen, and you can always do these at home later on. So I'm just going to double check. Here's my store. It looks cool. There are no apps here. And I'm logged into my Shopify partner account, and there are no apps here. Okay, and this is the code that we're going to be using. It's called the Product Review Sample App. And let's jump into the code lab. I've got my VS Code up here. Looks good to go. Let's go to part 1. There's actually 3 parts. We're going to go and just try to do part 1 for now. And if you pop open to the tab there, you can see there's about 10 steps or so. All right, so the goal is to build a product review app that you can see from the admin. It's going to be an embedded app. You can see it from the admin console. Some of the prereqs you're going to need is to make sure that you've got a Shopify account, Shopify partner account, and locally you've installed Node.js and Grok and the Shopify CLI. We're hoping to create more of a sandbox environment, but for now you'll have to install these locally. And keep in mind that you're going to need to run this on Node version 14 or 16. All right. Let's clone this. And I hope the demo gods are smiling upon me today. And actually, let's open up a new folder. And we're going to relaunch this so we can actually see all the files here. All right, give me a second.
Just a quick announcement. If you are stuck in some way, or something's not working, just raise your hand, and we have advocates around, and someone will come over and help you. Okay.
All right, yeah, and pardon the squished windows here. Trying to do the best I can here. All right, let's go over here. So you can see all the code here is available locally. We'll be bouncing around through that and the terminal. Just trying to find the right balance here. Let's do that. I think that works. All right, now we've cloned it. It's all written in Node.js. Let's go ahead and run npm install. That'll take a few minutes. Nevin, anything to add?
No, I mean, we're not going to necessarily go into all of the detail of the files and the code that's in the repo, but we definitely encourage you to take some time after the workshop to see what's going on the back end, and really see how we've built this sample app.
Yeah, I mean, we built it so that it can be like a jumping off point. There's, of course, the starters kind of skeleton app. This provides a little bit more functionality than that one. And it's just going to be something that folks can just hopefully pull down, install really quickly, and get started. All right, next one here, we want to go to our partner. So I'm going to just pull this window out just ever so quickly. And I don't think we need that anymore. Okay, let's go and see what the instructions say over here. Go to our partner dashboard, click Create App. Let's create a public app. And in the URL, we're going to, this is going to be overwritten, but we'll put in those details for now. App name is going to be PR app. Let's say
The Wi-Fi password is welcome to guest. Sorry. Welcome to Shopify, sorry. Welcome and Shopify, all lowercase, and the 2 is the number 2. Yes.
there is the, that is the Wi-Fi password. Welcome to Shopify. 2, all lowercase, number 2. All right, for the product review name, we're going to just say product review app. For the URL, we can just punch in the localhost 3000 for now. It'll eventually get overwritten anyway. Let's go ahead and hit create. And that should be about it. Now we're going to go and try to connect the code that we just pulled down to the app that we just created. So let's pump that back over there. All right. Let's type in Shopify login and make sure that I am logged in. All right, it's connected to my test store. I suppose I should actually show the test store. Let me do that really quickly. You can see my beautiful store where I sell a lot of cool things.
I'll also note here that when you run Shopify login, if you're not already logged into the browser, it'll just prompt you to log in and authenticate.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my test store. It's as minimal of a design you can think of. So we'll do that for now. All right. So far so good. Let's flip back over here, and let's run Shopify App Connect. And I believe since I only have, are you working on it? No. Since I have no existing apps, as I showed at the partner dashboard, it's just going to assume that it's going to be, there we go. It's going to be the product review app because it's the only one that I have. Otherwise,
Yeah, if you had other apps, it would give you a prompt to select the app that you have within your partner account to associate it with the one you choose.
And it also asked me to pick my store. So I selected the Steve Marr test store, which is what I just showed. All right. So you can see here, there's also a .env file saved. And, you can pop that open here locally. There's a .env file, and it shows my Shopify API key E416. Oh, how apt. 416. That's the area code for Toronto. Look at us. And if you go to the product review app in your partner dashboard, you can see there's the API key right there, E416, and the secret is right there too. And the theme that it's the store that's associated with is the Steve Marr test store. So all things good so far. And if I'm going too quickly, let me know, Nevin.
I will say really quickly, it's really important that whenever you're developing an app, your API key and secret should remain secret. Don't be posting that on forums, Discord, wherever it is. Sometimes we have partners make the mistake of, maybe you're sending a log to say, hey, what's going on? Can anyone help me? And they'll include those credentials in there. Please make sure not to do that.
And definitely don't check it into your GitHub commit history. That thing's harder to delete than a blockchain. All right. Now, in addition to the env file, and so you can see from within the env file, we've got a few things in here. Aside from the key and secret, we've got this thing called scopes. And that's going to basically say, like, what are the things that the app is allowed to modify. By default, it doesn't include reading and writing of themes, which is needed for part 2. So we're going to go ahead and copy that in there like that and save the file.
We'll actually see later how this gets reflected when a merchant goes to install the app. And this is really important, obviously, because the merchant needs to know what an app is going to interact with. If they are installing, an app that shouldn't be reading and writing their customers, and yet it shows up on their permissions, that might be a red flag for them. So it's really important to control exactly what you want to do with your app.
Exactly. Now the next step here is to get the application running locally. Let's go ahead and run Shopify app serve. And you can see it's going to use ngrok to start a tunnel. And it's going to ask if we want to update the application URL. We're going to click yes, and I'm going to show you what that does. So if you're familiar with ngrok, what it does is it creates a tunnel it creates a URL that you can go in, which allows then traffic from the wider internet to access the server that you have running up on your local laptop now. So here's our ngrok host. We're going to copy that and hit next. And all right, we've got to do some stuff in the dashboard. So under the app settings, we want to go to the app setup over here. And you'll see that when it said, do you want to update the URLs? What it did was it said it's going to update the app URL here and over here. As you can see, it kind of just copy and pasted it updated these fields with whatever the output of the ngrok host was. And according to the docs, I need to do 2 more steps here. And /online/auth/callback. What these URLs are needed for is basically when you're installing the app, it goes through like a little OAuth handshake. We'll skim over the details for now and just kind of proceed. Liz has a great video about what is on how to set up OAuth with apps. So I think that's right. It looks right. Offline, online.
I'll also say really quickly, ngrok is a tunneling service. They're in no way associated with us, but it's just something that we like to use. You can obviously use whatever tunneling service you want.
Yeah, it's super handy, and I've been using it for years. It's just super handy to have. All right, one last step, which we don't need for this, but it's handy for part 3, is we want to update the app proxies. And we want to find this app. This will just be 2 seconds, and then we'll actually be able to see the whole thing in action very soon. All right, let's save that. Nevin, you're reviewing everything, right?
I'm watching you like a hawk.
All right, now it's time to actually install it. Let's pop this back over, flip around, and you can see when you did the Shopify app serve, it gave you a link to follow. So we're going to go ahead and click that link. And it's going to say, all right, so someone wants to install this app. It's an unlisted app. That's expected. And you can see here, if you scroll down, what the app can do. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So you can see here, edit products. So it can read and write products. And you can see that's coming from this scope over here. You can edit, write, meaning it's you can have read and write access. So read and write customers. Same with the orders over there. And same with the themes that we just added. It's going to have reading themes, so it'll be able to view the themes. All right, fingers crossed. Let's try to install it. All right. Okay, great. This is what we wanted. It brought us to, if we can go out a little bit here, if we click on apps, we now see the product review app is installed on the store. Get rid of the sidebar menu. There we go. And so far, we have no reviewed apps. So the last thing that we actually have to do is, of course, use the application. So let's verify that it's working by trying to review a product. Let's create a sample review here. Copper light, sure. Cream sofa. Nevin, did you like the cream sofa? What would you rate it?
I'd give it 3 stars. It was all right. A little bit lacking in quality, but it does the job.
All right, 3 stars. Lacking in quality. Quality. We'll go for quality. And let's create the review. And by default, all reviews are unpublished. And when you are happy with a review, you can either choose to publish it or delete it. Again, this is just an example to show that things that you can do from within an app, from within the embedded dashboard here. So let's publish this one. And if you go back, you can see all the products that have reviews over here. Now, if you go to the store, you're not actually going to, let's refresh, make sure that the average rating shows up here. Now, if you go to the store, it's not actually going to show up on the store. That's for part 2 of the exercise, to actually make the review show up on the store. And both the average rating and the individual reviews. If we have time, I could go through that, but I don't know how we're doing for time. How are we doing?
I think we should call it there.
Okay.
The main thing we want to get across to you here is the general flow of how you might go about creating an app and have it installed on a store. This whole process for creating the app itself, obviously there's a lot of code involved, so I would suggest, like I did before, that you go through the code that was provided in the repo to see all the different calls that are being made. You can see some of the GraphQL queries, mutations, and really get a sense of all the different pieces that are involved in an actual app. But from this flow, you can see if you've gotten to a point where you can install an app, you'll see what the merchant sees. You can see what it takes to install and build. And then when you iterate and kind of add more features, that's when you'll go into steps 2 and 3 of the workshop. We highly encourage you to do those steps on your own. And again, if you have any feedback, we'll be happy to hear it and make changes as needed.
Yeah, for sure. So part 2 of the workshop, which you can find on the Code Labs landing page, goes through, modifying the theme to include the product reviews. And part 3 creates a post-checkout extension that allows you to leave a review as soon as you purchase the product. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Any questions? Yeah. What's up?
Sorry. So I've noticed that you're using the 2021-01 GraphQL API. So my impression was like get a year to use the version API, and then pass that one. Sorry. Gotcha. So I was asking about the API version. So I noticed that you guys are using the 2021-01 GraphQL API. So in my head, the way it worked is that you get a year to use the API. So by 2022-01, you'll be in deep trouble if you keep using it. But apparently, you can still use it. So I'm so surprised to see that. I always assume that at the end of the year, it just shuts down. But I guess I'm wrong. So I guess my question is, how long does it keep going after the year?
So for this particular example, that is a really good thing to point out. We do default the API version to the oldest stable version that's available to our partners. I actually don't know why this one is pointed to 2021-01, to be quite honest, but it is a year back from when our newest version has been released. So if you are still making calls to an old version, what you'll see in your partner dashboard is you'll start seeing warnings well before the version rolls over, and you'll be given lots of time to upgrade your version.
One thing.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, so obviously, you can still use them. You can use old API versions for a while. It's fine. Yep. No, you'll just get warnings. It's okay. They're just warnings. No problem. Sure. Here you go.
So I noticed that you guys expose merchant product data from the /product.json URL, and I wanted to know why y'all allowed that.
Why do we allow it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, it's dependent on how you set your app up. If your app is asking for that particular data, the merchant may or may not want to install your app based on what you're asking for. So in this case, you're reviewing products, so it makes sense for you to be able to read the products so that you can augment the data, add reviews to it.
Mhm.
But if I was, say, a shipping app and I was asking for customer data, that might be a red flag saying, well, you're just giving me shipping prices. Why do you need customer data? And at that point, when the merchant sees those permissions come up, they might say, well, this isn't quite right, and maybe this app isn't for me. So that's why in that .m file, you need to be very specific about what you do want to be accessing and what you don't want to be accessing.
No, I mean, like, could you tell me your name?
That's Steve.
Steve, could you type kith.com? Like, if you went to kith, KITH.com / products.json. Like, why is this available? So now we can, like, I could read through Kith's data. And I can do that for any Shopify website.
Yeah, that's just like a function of how Rails works, and all that data is actually public data.
All right, bet. Do y'all have any plans in the future to, like, take that away? Yeah, just curious.
Do you want?
I don't know about any plans in the future to change the way that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, but that is kind of like one of the hacky ways to find out if if an online store is using Shopify as their service. You go to like /products.json. It's a known trick.
So I was curious. I'm another DevRel person from Shopify. Is your concern as a merchant that your data is being shared in this way, or is your concern that you are consuming this endpoint as an app developer and you don't want it to go away? Okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, so we don't have any plans to announce or anything like that. So yeah, there's nothing announced, and yeah, I don't see that going away anytime soon.
Working as designed.
Yeah,
I'll say.
I got a quick question. I hate to sound real ignorant, but you guys are speaking a language that I am like totally unfamiliar with, and I'm just saying that because I'm new to all of this. But I do want to know: is there any beginning? Now, I'm not stupid by any means, but I do want to hyper speed to where I need to be. So I don't know: is there information for me to really get up to speed on all this information that I'm hearing right now? Because it's a lot of words and terms that I'm just.
yeah, that totally makes sense. We have a lot of different resources that you can take a look at. I would start at shopify.dev. That's our online documentation for all of our APIs, but that will link out to some of our other resources as well. So there are tutorials that you can go through there. You can also link out to our YouTube channel where you can see videos if that's more your jam. There are all kinds of things that you can look at, but start there. And again, you can reach out on our Discord channel, our Discord server, and our partner Slack if you have a partner account.
Yeah, at the same time, if you're looking at a specific language like Node.js, if you go to nodejs.org, they have a bunch of tutorials on there too.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, so you guys have spoken a lot about the ability for devs to enhance the merchant experience. Can you talk a little bit about if there are any examples or what Shopify's support is for enhancing the customer experience? So, for instance, let's say a customer wanted to access all their data across Shopify stores. Is that something, that functionality you could maybe build into an iOS app or build into a mobile app or something in that vein?
That's a really good question. I don't think we have any plans for that.
I mean, it would kind of be cemented in like, what's the use case for that? Is it like GDPR reasons or something? Or yeah, yeah.
Do you have like the shop app that puts all of them together?
Yeah, the
Yes.
shop app kind of touches on that, but I don't know if there's.
Sorry, if you couldn't ask, somebody repeat the question, if I may.
Yeah.
He's asking, doesn't our shop app, an offering that we have as a standalone app, do that kind of thing where we associate certain data with customer identity, right?
Yeah.
I think I see. Like if I bought something at I bought something at a Shopify store and it just happened to show up in my shop app. So, which I was only using for tracking before.
Yeah. No, I think you could definitely build it. You would just need to know like all the Shopify stores out there. So I don't think it's necessarily something that an external developer could build, if I'm thinking about it correctly.
I would imagine that you would have to build an app that was installed in all the different stores that would
that's one
aggregate
way,
that data. So it would be dependent on whether the store installed your app.
Yeah.
By default, you wouldn't be able to build an app that just connects to all customer data across the entire platform.
Yeah.
Any other questions? In the back there.
Thanks. Do you have any marketplace app of the month or the year, like a certain app that was downloaded several times?
Yeah. If you go to apps.shopify.com, I think it shows the most popular ones, and then there's also a spotlight one. I think they're depending on. I'm forgetting now, but there was some criteria and algorithm used to determine who gets the spotlight when. But I think that's is probably the closest to what I think I'm trying to get to your question there. Yeah, there's usually a spotlight. Yeah, certain apps get featured at certain times of the year. Thanks, Taryn.
You mentioned in the beginning of the presentation the merchant revenue. What was it, 450-ish?
411.
Is there a lion's share of like the apps that capture that revenue, or because what I've seen is a lot of the apps are free. So my assumption would be an app like Klaviyo. They are a massive company. They're taking the lion's share of that revenue.
I don't have the exact number. Our ecosystem team would have that number, but I'm assuming something like 60-40, 70-30 kind of split. I'm just spitballing things here.
And the way you price your app will have a big effect on that. Like you said, there are some free apps and there will be some that are paid, and you can set up your payment model in the way that makes the most sense for you. So I don't think we're at liberty to divulge the percentage of what kind of apps necessarily make more than others. But I mean, I would say that the first $1 million that you make is royalty free to us. So there's at least that part I can share.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned that a lot of apps have a free. I'd say they have a free tier because once you kind of go up, apps often have multiple tiers of pricing, right? So it goes like free and you get this functionality, and then they increase the price per month, and then you get a little bit more functionality, and it keeps going.
And there's certainly no kind of rule that we impose. You just have to decide for yourself what makes most sense for the app. Maybe you want to keep most of the functionality free and then augment it with different things. Maybe you want to have it paid out of the get-go. It really depends on the specific app.
And for marketplaces, you take the commission and you're factoring that into.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions?
What's next on the agenda?
I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to have a panel. But I'll hand it over to Josh.
Cool. Yeah, so first of all, can I just get a round of applause for Steve and Evan? Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.